Hello and welcome to second of a well-known company, Honda Motors. By the end of this case discussion, we will get to know what is debatable regarding strategic management process and what is the conclusion about this debate. In strategic management, this case is popular as Honda effect case. It was published in California Management Review in 1984. So looking at the time of this case, it seems to be quite older case, but it is very much valuable and relevant even in 2020. So let us quickly review the PowerPoints of this case. In 1959, Honda Motors entered in USA as American Honda Motor Company. For successful US market entry, Honda actually consulted BCG, Boston Consulting Group, and BCG actually advised that Honda should use a global strategy of selling their best product to the world, which means that Honda needs to take those brands to not only US market but to the other markets which they were actually successfully selling in Japan. So they made a strategy to take benefits of economies of scale from Japan to, in this case, to the US market, as well as to get cost advantage in US market. So the sales initially were slowly moving up, and they were actually started to sell the bikes of 250cc and 350cc. Now, as I said, that the bikes sale was very low, and the main reasons were that they were getting continuous complaints regarding their sold bike. They were not able to provide good after sales services, and the complaint which they were getting is because of the difference in uh, driving habits of US people vis-a-vis Japanese people. Now, since they were not getting enough sales, so they were struggling in the market, and they were looking for some solution how to resolve it. But approximately after spending 1 year time, they were not getting any solution. The people who were looking for opportunity in market for their 250cc bike, basically the salespeople who were rendering across different geographic locations in US, they came to know that the sellers at US, particularly in Los Angeles market, they were more interested in selling 50cc bikes. Now the point is, how come this 50cc bike came here? Uh, this company Honda Motors actually introduced a 250cc bike in US market, but for their salespeople and for their team and staff, they gave 50cc bike to them. So the people who were tapping the market, they were actually tapping the market by on their 50cc bike, and when they were not getting the good response to 250cc bikes, they were actually obtaining some good response for their 50cc bike. People were more curious about how could we get these bikes and all these things. So particularly some sellers from Los Angeles, they talk to these salespeople and ask them, okay, if they can arrange these 50cc bike in USA, they will be able to sell it, and it was a good order. So the salespeople went to the management and they said that this is the situation. Is it possible to take 50cc bike to this market? And then Honda Motors introduced 50cc Super Cub bike. This is the brand name for that particular 50cc bike. And this 50cc bike were with automatic clutch. There were 3-speed transmission, and automatic starter button also was there. So it's a good value for money at that point of time. And now if you look at Honda, by this time has shifted from 250 and 350cc bikes to 50cc bikes. So this now has replaced by the shift towards 50cc bike. And in very few years time, in 1964, uh, one out of every two bikes sold in US was Honda. So if you look at the journey, they entered in US market in 1959, and in approximately 4.5 and 5 year time, one out of every two bikes sold in US was from Honda. So what is the debate here? So the debatable issue is what should be the process of strategy formulation. Now, how this debate actually arise here in this case is because there are different opinion. I just wanted to take you to the next slide so that we can better get connect over this debatable topic. So now if you look at here, if I ask what should be the process of strategy formulation, if this is the question, what should be the process of strategy formulation? So there are basically two answers to this question. One is we can go with design and deliberate. We can go for design and deliberate approach, which actually Honda did initially. They were deliberately designed and took that 250cc and 350cc bike to US market from Japanese markets, because they were selling those brands so successfully in Japan. So that was their deliberated effort. Now, second opinion regarding the strategy formulation is that we should go with emergent and realized kind of strategy. Emergent and realized kind of strategy. So what is the difference over here? Deliberate and design means you properly study the market, you look for the opportunities, and then you compare your capabilities, your strength with the market opportunity, and then you decide what to do and what not to do, and eventually you come out with some strategy. That is the design and deliberate approach. In case of emergent and realized, which actually Honda finally adopted, right? Uh, that you can understand through this diagram that uh, initially to take the benefits of economy of scale, they introduced 250cc and 350cc bike to Japanese to US market, and that was their intended strategy. But because of the poor response, and that poor response is not just they were not able to serve the market properly, but because they were getting some issues with the bike itself, uh, and that was primarily because of the difference in the driving habits. So non-realized strategy was that they dropped the selling of these two bike, and emergent strategy was that they were getting good uh, order, in fact in the initial phase, for the 50cc bike. So the deliberate strategy now merged with the emergent strategy, and then it become realized strategy. So what is the realized strategy here? So realized strategy of Honda Motors did not come through the planning phase, right? Realized strategy was not a result of their deliberately planned strategy. A realized strategy was basically through a response uh, to the unforeseen situation of the real time, but that Japanese management timely gave to the emergent situations. So basically, these are the two approaches, and I'll now take you to introduce you to the two very, I would say, the key authors of strategic management that as a student of strategy, we all should know about them, because they are related to this debate. We are still into this debate. So these two quotes are from two great authors of strategic management, and these two quotes point out two approaches toward how to create a strategy. So for Michael Porter, this first gentleman is Michael Porter. For Michael Porter, it is important to evaluate business environment and to use past learning to decide what not to do and what to do. And so he quoted the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. It seems more systematic. His approach seems more systematic, and it appears to be like a stepwise formulation of strategy. And it is quite a rational and logical approach. So we call this approach a design and deliberate approach, where strategy formulation is a deliberate process which is guided by logical analysis and rational assumptions related to the future. It is more about creating a fit kind of strategy, what is available with you and what is available in the market, and through the strategy try to create fit. Now look at this second gentleman. He is Henry Minchberg. Uh, he is with the opinion uh, that strategy is not the consequence of planning. You cannot achieve a strategy just because you have planned, but it is the opposite. It is the starting point. Whenever you begin, you actually begin with a strategy. So let us try to explore more about this. By saying that strategy is the starting point, the strategy with which company begin is the intended strategy. According to Minchberg, intended strategy actually is the inferior form of strategy. What the debate here is, whatever Michael Porter said, that okay, we will follow a very logical approach, step-by-step approach, and then we'll decide a strategy. Minchberg said, okay, whatever you decided, that is the inferior form of strategy because that has not been tested in the real time. So whatever you have plotted just because of your experience and the information obtained through certain survey and other data, that is still untested, and therefore Minchberg considered that intended deliberate strategy a inferior strategy. Because as I said, he said that it is based on assumptions of the future predictions. So it is normally created by a formal process. The second point which he raised against the systematic approach toward strategy is that it is your intended strategy is created by formal process, which inhibit the flexibility, spontaneity, and intuition. So strategy formulation, implementation, when you say, okay, we'll analyze the environment, then we create this strategy, and then we analyze this strategy which to execute, and then we will implement it. So it's a kind of step-by-step approach. He said it is not possible to separate the strategy formulation against from the strategy implementation, or the control from the measurement part. So these are various decisions that emerge from the real-time situation of the market, and we have to decide whether we need to adopt those or not. So he argued business environment is so dynamic that no framework is possible to create a strategy. So that is why he said whatever you do, whatever you begin with, is nothing but your intended strategy. And now it is like your continuous interaction with the environment and your competitors, that how you will take up the responses of your competitors and your own as well. So this is regarding this debate that Michael Porter suggested that there is a formal framework wherein we can formulate strategy, and that begin with the environmental analysis, moving to the uh, establishing the availability of resources within the organization and tapping the opportunity, that more about the pistol analysis and SWOT analysis, and then we move to the strategic analysis and strategy formulation, then implementation, and finally we'll end with strategic evaluation and control. So this is what something Michael Porter suggested. Against it, Andy Minchberg suggested that okay, you can begin whatever strategy you have. It make no sense. You decided with your own acumen, and you do it. once you execute that whatever you intended, now the real strategic essence of your management and your team is going to be tested by the environment, and that actually generate the strategy, which actually happened with the Honda case. If you remember, uh, the emergent part in the last previous slide was very important. So that is why there are two approaches. One says that we should be very much spontaneous in making the strategy. Second is, which Michael Porter suggested, is more a very formal framework. And as a faculty of strategic management, as a person who study about this, I prefer Minchberg, but as a faculty, I prefer Michael Porter. Why is it so? Because when I need to explain what is strategy, how it is to be formulated, what are the things to be taken care, and all these things, so I require a framework to give my student that okay, this is the framework, these are the steps. If you follow these steps, you will be ending with a good strategy. So to teach how to formulate strategy, Michael Porter approach is very good. But when you are in the market, when you are in a job, obviously this approach needs to take some sort of modifications. You do this all kind of framework calculation in your mind, and you need to respond market spontaneously with very less time consumption, with your vision, what do you think about what should be the approach, that kind of modification which you will do is, I say, that it is according to Henry Majberg. So both of them are good. Partially we begin with the Michael Porter, and then we should grow with the approach of approach of Henry Minchberg. So now I'll take you to the formal process of strategic management as suggested by Michael E. Porter. So strategic management process is a formal way that guide managers about how to make strategy in a step-by-step way. Various component of the process are distributed across different steps. So these are the five steps. First is about the strategic intent. Second is about environmental scanning and strategic formulation. Next we go to strategic analysis and strategic implementation, and fourth is strategy evaluation, and last is strategic control. So these are the five steps. Strategy actually begin with strategic intent, your intention, what you want to do in terms of your within by your company, the vision for your company, the vision you have for your contribution to the society, and vision for your business. So everything need to be first evaluated, then we'll create a mission for ourselves, and then accordingly we'll decide what the business we are into, and we decide the objectives. So this process basically manage the dynamics of demand of strategic planning. This process involves people from all part of organization. If you are actually defining objectives, vision, mission, you need to take the opinion from other people who are working with you in the same organization. So it's more about including people in this process. So let us take the first step first so that we can discuss this in detail. So strategic management process require developing a vision for the company, for its future. Vision and mission describe what does company want to become, and basically mission describe basic purpose, what does it does. So strategic intent is about formulation, and if it is already there, then evaluation of the vision and mission statement. And in the second step, we move to the environmental scanning and strategy formulation. So we will pick up this what is the vision, what are the different component of it in detail in the next session. So second step is about evaluation of environmental environment, both internal and external, to know the strength, weaknesses, opportunity, threat. It requires a lot of detailing to know resource and capability gaps, and based on the insights, strategies for different level formulated. We have various kind of tools to understand the output and the insights of the environment. We use we use NSOS metrics, and particularly to understand our own strength, what we can do, we use BCG for its resource allocation. A more appropriate matrix is G9 cell matrix. So these are the systems we have developed to easily scan and then decide the resource allocation. The next step is strategic analysis and strategic implementation. Step 3 is about uh, whatever we have created in terms of strategy. We need to now evaluate, okay, which strategy to adopt. So based on the environmental scanning, we formulate 3-4 strategy, and during the strategy analysis we'll explore each strategy as an alternative. And there are again some metrics available that we can use as a tool. One very widely used uh, tool is QSPM matrix, right? QSPM matrix, and this matrix, it is stand for quantitative strategic planning matrix, that we will discuss by the end of the unit number 4. And the implementation part include two sort of implementation. One is the implementation with the help of policies, budget, and procedures, and second part is related to the behavioral implementation, where we talk about the organization culture. We'll also talk about the role of ethics in the implementation, which is very important, and then the social value integration within the strategy. We have seen in past there are a lot of example of multinational companies who actually failed on this ethical issue during their strategy implementation part. So a very particular approach, as I said, for every step we have some sort of framework, so that actually guide us in that step. So for a very effective strategic implementation, there is a very effective tool that was developed by McKinsey. It is 7S framework. It basically talk about uh, uh, making some congruency, or making some efforts to streamline the 7S. They describe certain hard elements and certain soft element, and McKinsey said that if we are able to maintain a congruency among all these 7S, we would be able to effectively implement this strategy. The next part is of this process is strategy evaluation and strategy control. Evaluation basically about comparing objectives of the strategy with the outcomes, whatever we have decided and what we are achieving right now. We'll compare those and we'll see that, okay, there are the requirement where we need to stop and rethink, or there are the requirement where we can afford not to stop but to get modified things, which if you go back to the Honda case, you remember that almost they were decided that we are going to leave US market. Then eventually they came to know that, okay, no, there is a alternative to this one. So when you evaluate a strategy, what is happening right now, what we should do, you could even find some sort of solution. So strategic control is basically implementing those measures that actually reduce the deviation what arise out of the comparison between the strategy objective and the outcomes. So if you are comparing objectives with the outcome and there is a deviation, and now you need some sort of solution, if the solution is there that can reduce that deviation, okay, that reduction in deviation means you are matching your objective with your outcomes. So that becomes the part of strategy control. So with this we are coming to end of this detailing of strategic management process. Now we will move to one more important topic, that is about concept of strategic management. I'll spend almost 5 minutes time to discuss about it. So strategic management is about preparing organization for various odd situations, and in that perspective strategic management is very broad concept. and it cover entire process of strategic decision making that we have just few minutes back covered. All those steps, I just here these are. So you in one perspective, you can say that strategic management include management of environmental scanning, strategy formulation, implementation, control, and evaluation control. So if you are managing this, you are basically into the strategic management process. Strategic management, you are following the strategic management. Uh, as a academic course, this course on strategic management everywhere has traveled a journey from corporate planning to strategic management, which we are seeing here it is today. So this course was not exactly in this form of strategic management. Basically, it was a part of corporate planning, and then corporate planning gradually become more quantified version of the planning part, and then uh, become the strategic planning and business policy kind of subject area. Strategic planning and business policy, these then eventually merge together, and then we prune the content of this area, and we came up with the idea of strategic management. So basically, when we can see that at one point of time at the beginning, strategic management was a part of corporate planning. Now it is reverse of it. We are studying strategic management as a broader concept and corporate planning as a part of it. So this is the journey that this strategic management as subject has gone through. Uh, we can look at another perspective of strategic management. So strategic management is a systematic approach that deals with these three things, right? One is management of the position within the industry, management of real-time strategic problems, and management of resistance against strategy decision. So I'll give you one example. So basically, what my point was, so my point is, you can look at strategic management as a systematic approach where we try to handle these three things. These are the three things, right? Uh, these are not the focus area, but these are somewhere the action areas of strategic management. So I'll give you an example of Jio, Reliance Jio. Reliance is actually into the process of making joint venture. Also, it is acquiring various companies that will help Reliance to build up 5G infrastructure in India. So why Reliance is doing all these kind of exercise where Indian government still is not opening up 5G, but Reliance is into the process by, as I said, acquiring some of the companies which will help Reliance to build up 5G infrastructure, and not only acquiring but also creating joint venture in advance, so that anytime when government announce, it is the first company that will claim that we are ready to build up the infrastructure for 5G. So the purpose of this all initiative by Reliance is to manage their position in the industry, is to manage the real-time strategic problems, and management of resistance against strategy decision. So these all things, this Reliance is actually preparing itself in advance, and this entire whatever they are doing is nothing but they are managing the strategy from the even from the perspective which is not still here in India. 5G is still a story, but they are preparing for it. So we can say that from the action oriented point of view, strategic management deals with these. One more perspective that I'm giving to you, and then we'll end up this session. So strategic management focus on, so these are the focus areas, as I said in the very beginning, that we'll be covering what are the focus areas of strategic management. These are the three important focus areas of strategic management. And what are these? Strategic management focus on search for competitive advantage, then creation of competitive advantage, and sustainability. The first thing that to be focused on is where we can find competitive advantage. Is it lying within the within the company? Is it lying within the industry? Is it something which we need to create? So once you know that, okay, this can give us the competitive advantage, then accordingly we need to uh, think of the value creation that we can offer to our consumer in terms of product and services. So second focus area is the creation of competitive advantage, utilization of this this competitive advantage. And finally, how you will sustain it. I'll give you one example to make it more clear. Nokia is one of such example that fit into this entire focus area framework. Uh, Reliance did search the source of their competitive advantage. They were knowing that it is what can give them competitive advantage. They were knowing that okay, we need to move to the Android based phone, but they ignored it. They didn't actually utilize that, despite knowing okay, this is going to be the future of mobiles. They were a little bit more complacent and adamant, not shifting them not shifting from Windows to that Android base. So they were failed to create any sort of advantage. They were knowing the source. They searched it. They found it, but they failed to create. And because they failed to create, there is no question about sustainability. One example where one company has successfully done it is Indigo Airlines. When we think of the low cost airline, Jetlight and this Kingfisher airline, and there are many who came and then they obsolete very their business model become obsolete in very less time. But Indigo is there, still there. What has this Indigo done is they search the source of competitive advantage and then they build up their business model around it, and now they're sustaining it. I'll give example. What they have done is, number one, they reduce the cost of you know offering that traveling at lower price. So they are not they do not serve any food during the journey to the passengers. In particularly in the low cost airline economic class, they don't offer any sort of these kind of breakfast and lunch sort of things. Additionally, they look for those uh, uh, those routes which are very busy, right? The problem with Kingfisher was they didn't actually remove that blanket of luxury from the economy class. They wanted to serve economic class with that same luxury. So how could you then manage the cost? That was the point. So they search for the competitive advantage, but they fail to create it, right? And somewhere if they created on certain route, they were quite profitable, but they weren't able to sustain because the cost you are incurring in managing those routes will eventually lead to the failure of your business model. So gradually we saw that some bailout package was announced. They were getting this good support from banks, but despite all these mechanism, uh, Kingfisher failed, but Indigo survived. Why? Because Indigo continuously look for those busy routes which give them very high average revenue per passenger. If you are taking a flight to a particular route, definitely you need to evaluate how much revenue we are generating, and this continuous evaluation is one of the point. I'm not saying that this is the only thing which is giving them competitive advantage. There are a lot of others, but for the sake of example, I'm telling you that strategic management focus area is to search for the source of competitive advantage and then creating value based on this competitive advantage. After it, you need to sustain. So these are the focus areas. With this, we came to the end of this session. Thank you very much.